Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Beadle, and I am the Executive Director for the Office of Advanced Manufacturing. And so the purpose for me today is really to talk about, as Spud said, was talk about what we can do when we're given the right tools and when we're given the opportunity to move forward with products. Again, manufacturing, we end up with a tangible item. And so what I want to start with first is the success stories. And first off, the success story that I want to talk about, I showed up last year and spoke at DC and talked about the various things that OAM was able to move forward with. We have 6 sites that we work with in Seattle, Charleston, Richmond, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. Those 6 sites are the ones who do all of the work. So while I'm up here, this is their success. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about, what have we done in the last year since I had the opportunity to speak in DC? The first off is we have seen and affected patient-specific care for over 3,000 veterans with an increase of almost 450% from what we were able to provide in 2023. And these are for all of the products that we have that are patient-specific, so our pre-procedural models, our assistive technology devices, the dental work that's being done, the wonderful work with the radiation therapy bolus as well, and others. Unique requests. When we are able to get innovators in touch with a site that can produce and can help, we're able to do amazing things. So what we were able to do in 2024 is we were able to pick up unique requests outside of those medical devices and things used in patient care with 1,854 unique requests. Again, over 1,000% increase from 2023. Like I said, these are the successes of the sites, and the way that we were able to do that was because of showing up to events like this, having innovators be part of the process, and increasing the amount of communication and ways that folks could communicate with us. So we used interfacility consults. We created 2 throughout the year, which allows any consulting physician to be able to request a pre-procedural model or an assistive technology device. So the first item that we want to talk about and that I wanted to talk about that really does show the speed at which you can go from an idea from a frontline staff with Diane Mosey, who is an RN in the Milwaukee office. She came up with the idea and said that naloxone isn't difficult to use, but it is helpful to be able to show folks and provide some sort of training when they're not in a high-stress environment. It's the same as with CPR and the rest. Even just a couple of repetitions of being able to see how it's supposed to can increase the efficiency and effectiveness of that care. So what you see on the left is her original attempts at this. She created that in her garage. It had plywood, there's rubber bands on it, and screws. Again, this is amazing that someone took that upon themselves and created this device. Ms. Mosey went and spoke with our Vision 12 office over in Milwaukee, and we were able to do a 3D print from resin. We thought that was a great idea. It was brought forward. The Vision took it on at first, and they said, we'll probably maybe get 100 of those devices when they're coming out. So the process, they could create 13 in a 5-hour period. It was difficult to get the pieces that are necessary to complete the process and used an external vendor, and was significantly more expensive. We can do better, though. And so what OAM was able to do, and specifically Dr. Schultz and her team, they were able to cut these from acrylic now. We're able to make them a single one in 5 minutes with the cut, and we're able to 3D print the plunger that they then have to attach. So there's significantly increased cost savings for this, and it's faster access for our customers. Again, this was frontline staff that brought forward an idea. Oh, and by the way, this took less than a year for that to come to fruition. She brought forward the item. It was picked up by the team. It was able to be created. And we currently, well, as of the end of September, had over 1,000 items requested of this. It was something that did not yet. Thank you, yes. And so that's a very specific example of when a frontline staff has an idea and how fast you can get out with the right tools and with production. So this is more of an idea and a process that we're talking about for 2025. So that was 24. When we're looking at 25, one of the areas that we're focusing on is digital dentistry. And digital dentistry is fairly simple. It's just using either a computer or a digital portion of the process that used to be manual. And if anyone, raise your hand if you've had to have dentures or crown, something put in that had to require an impression. Anyone in the office? Okay. Which would you prefer to have? That impression made with this device where they go through and they scan, or have to get your mouth cranked open again and have them push that in with all the chemicals and everything else that they make? So this is in 2025, one of the things that we're pushing forward. And the reason why I wanted to emphasize it on this is, again, the collaboration that will be necessary for this to be adopted is pretty intense. What we're able to do, though, when you're creating dentures, is you can take anyone's physiology, if it's different, if it's something that's outside the norm, and be able to create it specifically from a scan. And so it provides more comfort, it's more effective for the patient, and there's some amazing stories for folks who have not been able to use traditional dentistry and the analog system and be able to have a good fit. In the best case scenarios, we're also seeing from an access perspective that if you have the digital dentistry from the start, which is where they're taking the scan and producing the denture, you can actually have take visits from 5 down to 2. And it's not just dentures at that point. Some of the high-end stuff the processes that we're looking to be able to work with is things like surgical guides and bone reduction guides. But that first step and what needs to be adopted is the new technology. The scans coming through, because the processes currently, people know how they work and they want to stay with it. So we need some agitation, as was mentioned just on the last slide. And always want to end on a high point for this. So this is Clay Hill. He's a 76-year-old veteran, and because, as you can see on his face, he had suffered some injuries when he was in Vietnam. And so they were able to scan and 3D print the dentures that were necessary for him. And the great part about the story is, for Mr. Hill, he was able to get these dentures within a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. And so the comment, besides the 5-star part on this, the dental assistant who was helping at the time was brought to tears afterwards because of the effect of just seeing that difference. He was afraid to smile beforehand. He had trouble eating, and his comment was that we gave him back the ability to go see his family on Thanksgiving and have a meal. So it's not just the product, it's also the process. And hearing the music on that, I will be headed off stage on this. But a quick plug, we have a Pathways conversation for any of you innovators tomorrow that will be at the Office of Advanced Manufacturing, and we do have a booth up in the King Arthur room. So thank you all.